Blessed be, welcome. Thanks for joining me. Today is August 6, 2026, and the time is about 2:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, hailing out of the Blue Ridge Mountains, Lynchburg, Virginia. And we're going to talk about August here for a moment and kind of how we got to August, and then go into the eclipse, and then also talk about President Trump's chart, and then where this is showing up for you. So August 3rd through 28th, okay, we have Mars out of bounds and making emotions and reactions much stronger than they usually are. And boy, are we seeing this in the collective. This isn't about all of the events that are taking place, but I really encourage you. A lot of people talk about that and the sky map, and right now that's not what this is. But it would take too much. There's so much going on. But I think we're seeing this mass exposure and accountability taking place. And Mars is very angry and really not operating in the best and isn't going to hold back. And there have been really, really recent examples of this. So just go out there and check out what's going on with people being held accountable. But August 3rd through 11th, Mars is in Gemini. In August 11th through 28th, Mars is going to be in Cancer. So highly volatile, extra bold, rebellious activities are emotionally charged. And a very driven and protective energy here when it gets in Cancer. And when we look at Mars in Cancer, it's in fall. It's not the best place for it to be. It has to work a little harder to function there. So here's some mindfulness tips for you. This is for the entire month, and I cannot say this strong enough. Pause. Something that really helps to regulate the emotional system, which is often what gets triggered with Mars and Mercury, times like these, is to pause, is to simply pause. And wherever you are, open your hands up, and open your breath up, because we end up holding energy and we resist breathing and even our breath when anger rises in and rises up and gets in our energetic field. So a really quick tip, pause before reacting, but stay active. What does that mean? Something comes across your feed, or somebody knocks on your door, or you get a text, or you're at work and something happens, or you're driving. Seriously, find a way around it. This is fire energy here. This is Leo, and it's fixed. And fixed fire is leadership of your sun. And it has a passionate and loyal flavor to it that wants to do things. It's got heart, man. Leo's got heart, and it wants to do things the right way. Okay, but when it's out of bounds, it's extremely challenged. So be careful with that. August 7th, Mercury leaves its shadow phase, making communication, travel, and delayed plans flow more smoothly. Yay. So we've got today, this recording, Mercury leaving the shadow phase. And so we're going to have some communication open up much more clearly that perhaps has been stalled out. So with Mercury moving and Mars moving and out of bounds, you need to look at where Mars and Mercury are connecting in your chart, or if they are or if they aren't, or what's going on. You will see the literal storyline there. Venus enters Libra, and it's going to stay there through September 10th. Now, this is a very good position for Libra to be in. It's in its domicile, after all. And it's going to bring supportive energy to your relationships, romance, social connections, and finances. Remember now, these are general readings. This is only if you are not having a malefic or a harsh aspect, or perhaps your progressed and your perfected year is having malefic in those areas of significance, is having malefics hit with, or your natal chart is hitting a spot to your progressed or your solar return. I mean, all of these layers really need to be considered. And this is why general energies are just what they are, general energies. And to really understand what's going on, you need to look at all these charts lined up and analyze them. and create a synergistic roadmap that you can actually do as a human being on Earth and take all these angled energies that are creating an opportunity for you and find a way to hone them and get a tool and find out what your tools are. Now, some people that are in your life, they absolutely, let me be clear here, have done things that are really, really hard and have cut you, and that's what Mars does. Mars is a knife. Mars is a hand-to-hand combat. Mars is a sword. Mars is in your face. Mars is cardinal. And Mars doesn't back down. And what we're seeing here are the people that have been deeply wounded are rising in their fire. And I hope all of that makes sense, but this is what's happening. Venus in Libra is going to make sure that we get justice. God bless you, Libras. You are air and you are cardinal, and you turn the season from summer to fall and bring us into this space of air, cool, intellectual, non-emotional, top down, standing back, viewing from a far distance kind of way of seeing things. And I think that at this time in history, boy, the air and fire signs are finally getting their sea legs. They're finally standing up. They're finally breaking out of this yin heavy energy that of water and earth that they just felt they were being swallowed up by. And I think that the next 5 years are going to be phenomenal for you, Libra. And I just wanted to bring that out because Venus is going into Libra, and we really need you to be speaking and rising and showing us the way. Because I want to tell you, the information coming out now is so fast and so rapid of the absolute injustice that has been done to the innocence of our world. And you are the only inanimate symbol in the zodiac wheel that stands there with two scales. And it says, look, I demand these poles be adjusted. And we are not going to let the equilibrium anymore to those that have more, therefore can control more, therefore set all the rules and all the regulations because all the people are bought. And it's all being exposed. And it's all coming out in grand waves through very cool, collected energy. And if you want to see a really good example of this, I just watched a video on, it's the New Mexico Attorney General. I believe I got that right. And it was quick. I watched it really quick before coming on here. And how he has said, look, we have tried to get the Epstein files open and completely declassified and being able to read and see everything and everything redacted. And they have run into nothing but absolute nightmare problems from the higher powers that be to try to get this done. And now it's coming out and the whole story behind it and is very, very vocal. And I'm telling you, there is justice demanded for the innocents that cry, from the blood that has been spilled into the ground over the world. And I am here for it. And I am here to do all I can to try to support people that are exposing, to try to support people that are calling it out, that are doing investigative journalism of a high caliber, that are taking the air, cool, rational energy and saying, no more, we are not going to allow it. So yeah, I'm a little heated up about it. Just because too, I don't know how many of you know, really quickly, in 2012, my own son, who is an Aries and a Marine, decorated Marine, 2 tours, came back and posted some stuff on Facebook, was very vocal, started talking, started exposing a lot of things that are now just common knowledge. He was a predecessor of this wave of expansive energy that was taking down Capricorn and Pluto. And so he really, really said a lot of things that other people would have found controversial. And as a result, and mind you, a lot of this was done in a private Facebook group and said it wasn't even public. Some of it was public, but a lot of it was private. And the FBI and the CIA and the Chesterfield County Police knocked on my house that he was renting at the time and staying at, and he was going to school, and he had come home and he was running his silver business through Numis Network, and he was getting into silver and precious metals. And, you know, they decided to take him away. Now, if you want to know that whole full story, you can go Google Brandon Robb. And that was 2012. And that rocked the ever-loving hell out of my world. And I was in the financial system at the time, serving as a financial advisor, and subsequently began to read the material my son was handing me. And then on my own, I began to read, and I had this awakening. I would call an intellectual awakening, much like what we're seeing now, and this truth coming out. And it completely changed the trajectory of my life. And where I had spent all those years in that field, I now moved into more like just really trying to understand where everything went south and how the food changed and the economic system changed, the financial system changed, the education system changed, and how things got started and how the medical system got hijacked and how just a lot of things happened that I was absolutely unaware of and embarrassed to say I didn't know. And if you have read anything about the nodes, and the nodes are involved in this eclipse, then you kind of understand that the nodes will point to the area that you need to be going towards, in the area that you need to seek out, and the house that it's in are where you need to be doing that at, because that's the space the node is in. Therefore, your body's involved, you know, and I have it up in the 9th, and Neptune had been in Pisces and had entered, and it stood there for 14 years. And Jupiter and Neptune, Jupiter rules the 9th, and Jupiter and Neptune rule the 12th. And I have Neptune on my Scorpio ascendant, and it's in a trine up there to the 9th. So it was natally promised that I would have this evolutionary waking up journey in a spiritual way and in a very world view global way, because it's my sun is in the 9th, so it's in the diurnal part of the chart where it's daytime. And I would begin to bring in other customs, other ideas about how this world works, and other systems of money, and other systems of doing commerce, and other systems of how people lived and how they understood the world and their beliefs and religious beliefs and non-religious beliefs. And then my whole world busted open, and I became a Reiki master and then a mindfulness master. And I don't say that to be like, ooh, look at me, like some Leo inflated bullshit. Okay, I'm telling you that it was part of my healing journey, and it awakened and healed so many deep spaces in me that I didn't even know were in need. And my North Node in Cancer up there, you know, it was on its default network before I came out of all this. And it was a South Node in Capricorn, where it's the 10th house of career, where that's all I cared about. Like, I hid my wounds behind achievement. Do you get that? People who are traumatized, they'll shove it all down. Not all people, you know, but some of us. This is what I did. And I just worked really hard to say, I'm going to be in charge. I'm going to be the boss. I'm going to be at the top. And then that way nobody can hurt me. And it was a coping mechanism. And that is a South Node in Capricorn, if you've been traumatized in the way that I have as a child. So as I began to evolve, and I awakened to my North Node in Cancer, and it was like, whoa, I am dealing with these themes this lifetime of changing the way my family saw things and the way my family did things. And that just opened a whole nother door. But it began also the road of the metaphysical world, the scientific world, the hermeneutical world, and understanding the ancient mystery schools and magic, and how, man, there was a whole world shut down from me. This is going to be the power of a lunar solar eclipse, depending on which one it is. The solar eclipse is going to bust open so much, mark my words, and we are going to see many people revolutionized over this in the months to come, that they will point back to this time and they will say, wow, that was when it all changed for me. Now, I was born on a new moon solar eclipse in Cancer. So you can bet that I am meant to design a whole new way of expressing Cancer this lifetime. And again, at 63 and on the other side of that, I'm good, which is why I'm doing this. And I'm certainly not perfect, and I don't have it all together, and I'll probably make more mistakes. But I want to tell you, the sky is opening up for us messages that if you will take the time to read them, and it doesn't have to come through astrology, it can come through so many different modalities and people. It can come through a rock, for God's sakes, this message, and the way that you look at a rock and it speaks to you, and it can come through the clouds, and it can come through a science exposition where you all of a sudden something clicks about energy and the way it works. But it's coming, and it's coming fierce, and we are facing very revolutionary times. I'm here to tell you this. We do not need to be afraid, because we've been here before in these cycles of energy, and all you need to do is figure out what method best works for you. Know thyself, no excess. Leo wants you to figure it out and to move away then from that which you've not been doing correctly with your fires. August 12th, new moon and solar eclipse in Leo. I'm going to do that in a minute and just go through that in a little more detail. But it is a theme of a powerful time for fresh starts, stepping into your confidence in a new way for we the people that is highly authentic and self-sacrificing. This is another big clue here. Air is detached, cool energy, and it's fixed up there in Aquarius. And it wants to help everyone, but it wants to do it in its own way. So we're going to see a lot of unique expressions coming out that we need to be open to, people. We got to step away from this Capricorn Pluto that was dismantled and allow some of the traditional structures that have been in place tumble down, that are no longer serving us. Good opportunity to embrace authentic roles and purpose. Eclipse energy continues unfolding for several weeks, and then we have the lunar eclipse in Pisces, right? But understanding that eclipses come in a series of eclipse cycles known as Saroses. I'm not going to go into that. Other people have. But it's in a Saros cycle. So these cycles really impact for 6 months at a time. And so what's really important to understand is if you were born on one of these moons, especially a new moon, the first 6 months of your life, what took place in the natal chart by progressing it forward is super important to understand. And going back, because you see a lot of people look at charts, but oftentimes you don't hear about, well, what was going on before I came in? Like, what is the culture like? What the hell was I born into? What was going on out there? See Uranus, see Neptune, see Pluto, see the asteroids. Okay, these are the newer planets and the outer planets that brought in great shifts in society. And so, we all live in these shifts and these cycles. And our parents picked up whatever was going on. And if you don't think they didn't pass it on to you, you're wrong. Because I can tell you right now, things that have been said like, children are better seen than heard. Shut up because I said so. Or stop crying, I'll give you something to cry about. Or how about trigger warning? Sorry, trigger warning, be prepared. Walk away or plug your ears. The sound of a belt buckle coming off and hearing it in the air coming down upon you. Listen, man, we are casting off cruel and unusual behavior done against the innocents. And in our psyches, we are getting rid of this shadow Leo and asking Leo to rise in the most beautiful ways where it is regal, it wears a crown, the sun is shining, it is loyal, it is generous and kind, and its heart-centered chakra is coming from this absolute place of beauty. That's what this is about. And so that's not easy either, right? Because that asks something of us. And if we don't do this work, there's just going to be another hard aspect coming your way. And it doesn't matter if it's astrology, it can come anyway. Through any modality of the world that you live in, the way that you are in a vortex of the energies that surround you that then really matter because they affect your earth and affect your aura around you. Like, we're being called to this place of authority where we manage our auras and we manage our mindscapes and we manage our ego, and we come from the heart. The heart, people, the heart that pumps the blood, pumps the power, pumps the fire that comes up the Kundalini and rises up and out. Back down and awakening us. The sun enters Mercury 23rd. Mercury follows a few days later, creating a very favorable period through September 9th. Boy, Virgos, I know some of you. I have you as friends. I also have you. My son is a Virgo, and I have a grandbaby now that's a Virgo too, and he's a young baby, so he's a toddler. But whoa, Virgos, you're going to get a breath of fresh air in this. You're going to get some cool air coming on you. And boy, do you deserve it. You had the nodes in Pisces and Virgo, and that was just like, oh, dear God in heaven. That was 18 months of just this pressure of polarity and this adjustment. And I know that that's not been easy. But you're going to have your Lord Mercury working with you. So take advantage till September 9th. You're going to have a lot of ability with your logical mind now, and this cooling to the emotions that Mars is exasperated. So look for that to occur for you. Contracts, business deals, travels, and technology all coming to the forefront for you, Virgo. August 28th is the full moon and lunar eclipse in Pisces, highlighting Jupiter and Neptune, heightened intuition, emotions, personal insights rising. Time for really reflection and emotional release in this full moon when the nodes are opposite of each other with the sun and the moon as well. And so these full moons are really wanting to release now all of the higher vibrational energy that we have learned. And the word spiritual is coming out a lot more in our circles and in our world, because spiritual used to be like this big religious term of, tied into rules and regulations and legalism. I was in the Assemblies of God, went to North Central Bible College, which is now North Central University, where I studied in psychology. And, I really was under that really rigid structure of Christianity. And it wasn't until I came out that I began to really understand how rigid it was. And that it didn't allow me to breathe. Like, it just was like, if you need a set of rules to dictate your behavior, I don't know, man. Moral conduct, or a set of themes that you stand by, or standards. I suppose I understand that, But if somebody has to tell you what those are, and beat it over your head that if you don't perform them, or you don't do them, you're going to go to hell, where demons are going to gnash on you. I don't know. I just don't think that's healthy. I don't think that causes me to rise to my best self. I don't think that makes me feel very good about myself as a human. I feel very shamed. I feel dirty when I hear that language. And so I had to work through all that process of really moving all that out with my own Pisces, my own Neptune, my own idea of spirituality and what that is. And I think we're understanding spirituality to be what we are, not what we do. I don't know. That's what I'm seeing. August 29th through the 31st, Jupiter trine Saturn, beginning a long-term supportive cycle through 2027, and encourages steady growth, purpose, and long-term success. So the overall theme for this month is practice patience, and we are being asked to emotionally regulate people and balance. Expect breakthroughs during eclipse season. Focus on healing relationships. Being truthful, authentic, and if you've messed up, or like there's something just there, just reach out to the person. Just reach out and talk to them and be like, are we good? Like, are we good? Because I really do love you. I really do care. Or I really do like you. I really do respect what you do. But are we good? Because this is what's being asked for us. And I also want to say there is this organizing of finances being asked to us with Chiron in the wounded healer in Taurus. That is the money sign. That is the money house, the first one. And this absolutely has to do with our own teaching about money and what we were taught and what we brought in our ancestry. And so I talk about in the prior video, I think we're going to see money change. And I'm not talking about it here, but if you're interested, just look at all the movement in the financial centers around cryptocurrency and the stable coin, in all of Trump's laws and executive orders. Like, all of this is in movement, people. We are going to see a money change system. And all of this really impacts Trump right now, actually, as that's all in negotiations with how inflation is hitting us. That's money problems, right? That's less money in our pockets. And how we see how this is impacting the other financial markets, because his solar eclipse is opposite the 7th house of partnerships and enemies. So I'll talk about that in a minute. Expect really in aligning with your long-term purpose. This is huge. Where we see Leo in the 5th, this is the nocturnal part of the chart. So it's underneath in the 5th house of, I want to take houses 1 through 4 and everything in my lineage and everything they taught me, and I want to mix it with other people in my fire, which this is sex, people. This is making love. This is the house of babies. This is the 5th house. And when we're looking at the 5th house, this is a great chart. It's a quadrant chart. And the quadrant chart shows how the wheel is divided into 4 parts. And if we look at Leo down there on the bottom, right side, this is creativity and pleasure ruled by the sun. And this is a succedent house. And a succedent house is the fixed houses. And the fixed signs carry through the purpose of a season. And they deal with perseverance. And they want to take what the cardinal signs is placed out there in the angle houses. The cardinal angle houses 1, 4, 7, and 10, although those angles might be different for you depending on where you live. But wherever those angles are, they're active. They're highly active. And so they want to take the energy and they want to build something, create something, make something very, very physically tangible that is an expression of who they are. They are very interested in this. Something else I want to bring up here is the mystical rectangle. It creates positive, uplifting energy if you can rectify the oppositions. And so what you've got are oppositions in an X, and you can see it there. And then you have these corners that are 4 points connected through harmonic sextiles of Venus nature, which is an ability to create really, really beautiful things, among other things. And then they are also then these sextiles connect in a trine. And the trine is 120 harmonic position in the expression of Jupiter. So Jupiter and Venus are in operation in this rectangle. And this is bringing very, very high energy out. Again, if we can reconcile the opposites. And so it's titled the Mystic Rectangle, I think, because people who do this, and it's not easy, because it's a lot of flowing energy and gifts that you came in with, that you're being asked, this really fast vibrating energy, you're being asked to harness and the opposite in the best way, not in shadow. And you have all this trauma you came in usually because you have to overcome, because you have to learn all these deep lessons, all these really hard things that have happened to you in your life, like your body's been wounded, or your family's been through war, or, something's happened in the family. Like, this usually shows up for the mystic who is especially Scorpio on the ascendant, which is me, and that's a whole nother conversation. But what you have here in the mystic rectangle is an opportunity for this word spirituality, or higher way of doing all things on earth, bringing this higher wisdom down, known as God, known as Great Spirit, known as our guides and goddesses and gods, and all that out in the ether that works for the good of humanity, and bringing it in to say, all right, let's shine the light on this shadow. Let's not ignore the shadow. Let's not pretend everything is okay. We can't do that anymore. Neptune has moved into Aries, and it is demanding. It's in retrograde, and so is Saturn. And it is saying, look, you need to look at the way that you have been using your fire energy and not been willing to go into the cauldron fires of Leo, where it's being fixed, and Scorpio water, where it's being stirred, and really look at your shadows, Leo, and integrate. Wherever Leo is in your chart, you are being asked to integrate this lifetime. And if you have it in a water house, or if you have it in one of the psychological houses of 4, 8, or 12, then you really, really need to integrate your shadow And kudos to those who have done that. I would love to hear from you because that's not easy to do with it in the 12th like that. Retrogrades, let's talk about those for a minute. And you've got Pluto in retrograde. This is recalibration. Neptune in retrograde. This is introspection. Saturn is retrograde. This is restraint. Like beyond Saturn being restraining, this is double restraint. Again, Mars, all month out of bounds. Hold the energy in ways and express the energy in ways that are harmonious for the good of all, in thinking of other people and not just yourself. This can't be just about ourselves anymore, me included. Ways that maybe I've done things selfishly. You know, I'm under the radar with you, okay? You're my mirrors, man. And I am open, okay? I don't want to be one of these inauthentic people on earth that runs around not being who they say they are, okay? All right, so Wounded Healer retrograde in Chiron. There's a reevaluation of our Aries fire people. That's where it's headed. That's where it's going. I want you to look at the goddesses that are showing up. The goddesses that are showing up in retrograde here. This is some fierce feminine energy right now that is really, really not going to tolerate it anymore. We have Black Moon Lilith at 13 degrees in retrograde. We have Juno in Capricorn, and Black Moon Lilith is in Capricorn in retrograde. Now, they're being ruled by Saturn. Saturn is ruling that house. Saturn is in retrograde. Saturn is in the 6th house of Virgo. Saturn is not in Virgo. Saturn is in Aries. Aries is visiting Virgo's house. So, you know, it's like this. Hi, Virgo. I am here as Aries fire, and I know you're a mutable Mercury-led house, but I'm coming in with my cardinal fire. Here I am. I'm coming into your house, and there's really nothing you could do about it because Saturn is with me, and Saturn is the Lord of time, and he's in retrograde, and he is going to place restrictions and structure, and he is going to radically ask for you to get disciplined, okay? And that is squaring the 3rd house. Do you see this? And we have Vesta and Pallas Athena with the retrograde planets in the 6th. And Vesta and Pallas Athena in Aries is not subtle energies. You've got Vesta sitting there saying, I will keep the light on. I will keep the light on the sacred fires, and I am not holding back. I am going to stand here and add the fuel and add the fire, and I'm going to be in the center of everything. This is where the Vesta virgins would be, and they would keep the fires burning. Pallas Athena, in her perceptual skill. This is air energy. This is cool, calm, collected energy that's wearing armor, so she's prepared. And she has perception here. She knows that there are things that have been going on that can't go forward. And she's prepared to fight for them. And you are seeing women in their minds and intellectual energy, in their feminine energy rising, and they're speaking, and it's a thing of beauty, and it needs to be said, because, you know, I'm one of those women as far as rising to speak about the injustices. You know, if you guys heard my story, it was a horrible story, and it isn't just me. It's a lot of women from the eras of the 60s who were raised by men with wandering hands, wandering eyes, and wandering minds, and they wouldn't leave you alone. And it was not an easy thing to overcome. So if you think that women who have been wounded like this, now healed, aren't going to be passionate and speak out, you would be wrong. And so we're going to see a lot of music. We're going to see a lot of just verbal works, like things being written with Uranus and Gemini and coming out that people have been working on. And I just want to encourage you, let's disseminate this stuff. Let's get it out there and let's spread it so that we can get a more humanitarian situation going on here, because it is very clear that things have gone rogue and things have gone out of balance. And this all started for me when they went and kidnapped my son, and they probably shouldn't have done that. They probably shouldn't have kidnapped my son. I would highly recommend the government, the powers that be, not to mess with cancer moms. It's not a good idea. It's just not. But there you go. You see a little bit of my fire there that I'm still working on. But Black Moon and Lilith, this is reckoning in retrograde in Capricorn with Saturn. This is squaring. This is stressful. This is Roman queen of the gods, Juno, and, telling us in partnerships, look, this is a revision. This is a rewriting. This is a redoing of the way we're doing these partnerships. And it is speaking in the third house in a structured way in Capricorn. Hecate is sitting in Pisces. Hecate is very, very busy down there. The feminine asteroid, the crossroads goddess, is sitting in 1 degrees in retrograde, going back to the cusp of the 5th house. Oh my God, this is textbook. Who rules the 5th house originally? Leo. Leo is dealing with Pisces sitting there. And Pisces is water. It is emotions. It is the chief water sign, the third, the most evolved and mature sign of water, ruling the 12th house of psychological issues, hidden things, hidden people, ways that our subconscious is hidden from the collective. She is sitting there and she is unmasking. This is what she's doing there. She is standing at the crossroads and she is saying, look, it is time to look at your path. This is personal energy, Leo. This is spiritual energy, Pisces. This is Neptune in retrograde in Aries. I am with Saturn. I am fixed. And it's sitting in the 6th house of health. Service to others, daily habits, daily addictions. She's dealing with this on a very deep level. And we're looking at the protector and guardian and the crone goddess here. And sometimes it connects us also with children, because this is Hecate deals with childbirth. She deals with motherhood. She's ruled by the moon. Anything with the moon. She's got a moon on either side of her. So, triple moon goddess, mother, maiden, crone on top of her head as well as the moon. This is some potent energy of the masses, of ancestral energy, of karma, of the way we've done motherhood, the way we've treated mothers, the way that mothers have shown up on earth. This is huge. And dealing with the powers of Leo. And Hecate standing there in retrograde, turning around and going back and reviewing and saying, look, I'm going to move away the deceptions and I'm going to reveal the road that we need to take collectively, because she is going to go forward and she is going to be in that Pisces 5th house where she's going to try to bring some kind of order about the roads that you have been choosing with your sexual energy, your very inner fire, your passions, the things you love, the way you express yourself in this world. All right. Let's get to this solar eclipse exact here. I want to go into this and look at this 10th house. And I've got a lot in that 10th house. I won't be going over all of the placements. Some of those go a little deeper, but we are looking at the sun and moon in the 10th house for Eastern Daylight Time. Adjust your clocks accordingly. Now, solar eclipses are extremely fated times, and I encourage you to go back over some of the other areas of astrology that are offered and study the way that they view the way that eclipses impact us. Now, something to consider too is go back to the last solar eclipses in Leo if you were alive, and you should have been, because these solar eclipses would definitely bring in some insight for you. And this one occurring on August 12th is occurring at 1:37 p.m. Lynchburg, Virginia, which puts it in that 10th house. Now, this is aligned with the North Node. This is aligned with the South Node as well. And the South Node is making its way straight back to that moon, and the moon is moving rapidly straight towards that South Node. Okay? So this is going to be a highly, highly, highly sun-centered type of situation that is going to not only involve the moon, but the sun, the ego. And the South Node is asking us, look, these professional difficulties up here in the 10th that you've been experiencing, let's get it personal. Let's stick it in this house. 29 degrees, that is difficult. And there might have been, where you have been, some excessive pride and undermining relationships where somebody's been undermining you, or there's been an overbearing attitude potentially. This is all South Node in Leo. And if you look at the revised Sabian symbol for the 30 degree of Leo, and the Sabian symbols round up, okay? Here is what Goldman's revised Sabian symbol for the 30th degree of Leo. And it's important to understand this. He really looked at the shadowy psychological aspect when it comes to the nodes here and this degree. Noontide. A little girl sets out to deliver a letter, sealing loosely with string and bearing the embossed insignia of the king. Cheerfully accepting one's childlike role in the cosmic scene. Faith that one has been given, all one needs to do what one was put here to do. Faith that the universe is a normal and orderly and well-run household, that all serious problems will take care of by God or one's parents. They ignore problems under their noses if they aren't their problems. Tackling problems in a straightforward, linear way, get in a mental tangle when things get too complex. Following directions versus having to figure things for oneself. Step-by-step fulfillment of personal dharma versus getting tangled up in karmic problems when one strays from one's path. Self-recollection versus losing track of one's ultimate goals. Pleasure in simple, everyday activities. That's the Goldman Revised Sabian Symbols from the publication The Zodiac by Degree, 2nd edition. Author Martin Goldsmith, publisher Red Wheel Wiser. I do not own that information. So the 5th house, creativity, children, play, personal joy, risk-taking, and authentic self-actualization without needing applause. This is Leo. And the 10th house, this is career, public, reputation, professional standing, authority, life direction, and major vocational turning points with the South Node there. So yeah, this is right for you to make some changes there, Leo, most definitely. And we have to look at where this node is and what it's speaking in light of the rest of the chart, because it is definitely going to slam directly into this moon. And the moon Sabian symbol, this puts us at the 21 degree in Leo. And of that Sabian symbol, he says drunken chickens made giddy attempts to fly over a barnyard fence, pointing out the chicken brain ridiculousness of human behavior as seen from a higher perspective. Zany humor discovering one's abilities and limitations by testing oneself. Achieving an important first versus attempting the impossible. Having the courage to risk failure or humiliation in some new venture. Chicken out. Won't admit to their own desires and may make no serious effort to succeed. Sour grapes. Finding a supportive audience for one's fledgling efforts. Insecure. Bolstering one's self-confidence by imagining one's self-efforts as part of a funny story to be played out any way one pleases. Turning one's handicaps into assets. Laughing at oneself versus making too much of one's physical or social liabilities. Silly antics that lighten things up. And you know what? I want to bring this in here. Jupiter is in Leo. Let's talk about that. Jupiter's going to make things fun in Leo. Leo is already fun. And this is something that I think with all the heaviness and all of this stuff going on, that we need to remember that wherever Leo is, he wants to have fun. He wants to be bold. He wants to be bright. And he wants to do things in a grand style with great self-assurance. So there's a trust going on here that I feel like Great Spirit wants to say. And it's like you need to know that you have a place to come out into this world, that you are a natural person with an ability to come out with your gifts and the way you come out that is going to be received, because it's the word natural there. It's not like fake. It's not like you're trying to impress anybody, and you're just being really real. And this is where the Leo needs to come out, but he needs to play, and he needs to not get so bogged down all the time, because it's the house of creativity. And if you are overthinking or in this 10th house and all of it's just about work, and all of it's just about the money you make and this great advancement and making a name for yourself and being seen, you are really missing the boat on this earth. Because we came here to enjoy the things that are here, but to enjoy them in a way that brings balance to the polarity of others. Aquarius, the greater collective, the 11th house, where we see Virgo ruling, and where we see Regulus, a star in the constellation of Leo, the lion prince, meaning little king, named by Copernicus. It is the heart of the lion. It is associated with generosity and ambition. And if well aspected, it will raise the person to high positions in life and denotes successful activity, prominence, and wealth. This is the nature of Mars and Jupiter. So Regulus has now ingressed into Virgo. Wow. You know, it had been forever in Regulus and it slowly moved, but it still deals with the themes of Leo. After all, it is Regulus. And it is conjunct there, Pythia in Virgo. And Pythia was the oracle of Delphi who worked in divination and prophecy. She is really rising up for such a time as this, and you're going to see a lot of intuitive channels rise as well, talking in a very practical, logical, mercurial-minded earth way, saying, look, this is what we need to do to get our Mercury engaged in a logical way with other people and bring the health to the world. And Virgo is the healer. And so it's quite possible that at this time, the way that you do your mercurial mind, right? The way that it's coming out through your Virgo as a sun sign, that, you know, your career is really in flux and changing, and you're looking at it and you're looking at, wow, how should I do this now? Because you came out in a really bold way, perhaps, and now maybe you're backpedaling a little bit and adjusting. That could definitely be a theme for you. But down there in that quadrant that we were looking at, of the second quadrant, which has to do with personal expression, quadrant 2, houses 4, 5, and 6, and then quadrant 4, your spiritual expression, the houses 10, 11, and 12. We're dealing with the 10th and the 11th, most definitely, and the 4th and the 5th. It's really, really obvious as we're seeing so much shifting in these areas collectively at this time, and with AI and everything going on. So I want to read, this is by Kim Rogers Gallagher, and this is out of a calendar, an astrological calendar. And I want to read what she has to say about the moon here. I do not own this information. As the moon goes along her way, she magically appears and disappears, rocking the earth to and fro like a comforting mother. She waxes, growing from the barest silver of a crescent just after she's reborn to her most fertile full, then wanes quietly back to the invisibility of her new phase. The moon's job is to plant the seeds of life, and her passage heralds the nature of those beginnings. The 4 quarters, the new moon, the second quarter, the full moon, and the 4th quarter, correspond to the growth cycle of every living thing. Learning to understand her moods is a learning how to cooperate with the essence of life itself. Here's how best to plant your celestial seeds. The quarters, the first quarter. The phase begins when the moon and sun come together in the sky or become conjunct to one another. At the beginning of the phase, the moon is invisible, hidden by the brightness of the sun as they travel the sky together. In fact, the moon is often said to be in her dark phase. Now, this is right where Hecate and Inanna and Isis live, right on that realm. And I have my sun right on that realm with Hecate right in front. So like I came in through the darkest moon there is, out into the light of a solar eclipse in Cancer. That has totally been the theme of my life. I can't even tell you how true that is. So much there with that dark moon. So much there. And coming out into the new moon really changes and asks you to completely adjust and be different this lifetime. It's not easy. So toward the end of this phase, as the moon pulls farther away from the sun and she begins to wax or grow toward the second quarter stage, a delicate silver crescent appears. This phase corresponds with new beginnings. This is the right time to begin a project. So use this moon to begin projects and check it against your own chart and how that looks. And definitely take advantage of this ability to release and start a new cycle in your life over the next 6 months. She says of a Leo moon, when the moon is in Leo, it's most definitely time for spotlights. So prepare yourself for drama with a capital D. This fiery theatrical sign has long been known for its love of big entrances, lavish displays, and standing ovations. Leo longs for the attention and adoration that only true appreciative fans can provide. It's a fixed fire sign that's ruled by the sun, the center of the universe, the creative force from which all life springs. When the moon is passing through this fun, showy sign, we all feel the need to be recognized, applauded, and appreciated. When we express ourselves during this time, it's always with a flourish, with an eye toward garnering the admiration of the ones we love. Leo moons make us feel as if everyone ought to stop, bow, and ask which country we own. Now, all that excitement, pride, and emotion can turn into histrionics and melodrama. Histrionics and melodrama in the blink of an eye. So it's best to be careful of letting that fire burn too hot, which could easily turn to overreacting, emoting, or being excessively vain. It's a great time to take in a show or star in one, to be with children, to be unbelievably romantic, or to express your feelings for anyone at all. Whether it's a pat on the back of Royal Regal Parade, doesn't matter. Leo is also quite creative, spontaneous, and fun-loving, so don't forget to play. And what I want to say in the new moon, which means we're starting a new way of using this energy, and then the play of Leo, like we don't want to not play. You know, we don't want to not participate. Please hear me. It can look like with this South Node there and everything going on with the North Node in Aquarius and being asked to go out to the 11th. It can look like we really shouldn't consider ourselves at all. And that is not what this moon is asking. It's asking you to tame your roar and look at the strength card, number 8. And tomorrow we enter the Lion's Gate, and to be cognizant of that energy inside of you. And under the 36 Decans by Benabel Wen, this is a wheel that he does. I do not own this information. He puts that degree up there of the moon in the decan of Mars, of course. And so this is dealing with your life purpose versus past influences. This is the nutshell of this reading. The North Node and the IC are conjunct each other. This is the roots. Pluto is down there in retrograde, and it's in Aquarius trying to do its past influence healing and having us revisit this one more time. And so it's a time of a collective pause when you look at all the retrogrades of 3rd through 7th house, and this being the lower quadrant 1, lower quadrant 2, this being the quadrant of personal identity and personal expression to spiritual expression. That's what's being hit up. And, you know, Chiron's leaving the 7th there, and he's going down. He's moving away. So really, it's not about other people here. This has nothing to do with other people now, getting personal in regards to this eclipse, in regards to this energy. Leo, if any sign in the chart, is really about your personal fire. And this is where you're breathing your dragon. And where in Rahu you might be roaring a bit too much, and in Ketu where you're excreting your dragon, and where maybe you're giving too much away. So that's what's being asked of right now. So let's go into Trump's chart really quick. And then what I want to do is go into all 12 signs and close this up. Okay, as we look at Trump's chart there, you see his inner ring with a Leo ascendant, and you can see this solar eclipse, 20 degrees, going directly on his ascendant. This is a really big deal and something we need to talk about because it's basically a reckoning of we the people. And the other side we see here, Aquarius IC, which is the roots, okay, which is the fourth house, really, which is the very, very deepest parts of who we are, and that which is hidden in the nocturnal part of the chart underneath the rays, very much secretive. And so he's being asked to consider we the people and not just his own roots. Literally feeling this viscerally. This is hitting his descendant house. This is no joke here. The ascendant and opposite the IC, and the IC opposite the DC. The IC, opposite the midheaven. And the midheaven is where you show up and where you are seen. It's the most visible spot on the chart. So he is going to be very public about something, an event, something's going to happen, something's going to be said, having to do with the Iran war. It shows that this is going on right now. Other people, and we're just speaking humanitarian language out over and over out into the collective. And, we're asking him to do so much for the people. And, he's really not interested. He's got his own agenda here. This is very, very clear. If you look at his 11th house, he was born under a eclipse itself in Gemini. And it is the same degree as this Leo eclipse in exact sextile. You cannot make this up. This is huge. So what does this mean when we have Gemini natally getting activated exactly in sextile, which is Venus, which is money, which is where our lust on earth comes out, and it is being exactly sextile to his physical body, his ascendant, where he is portraying himself on this earth in an avatar that looks like Leo, and he is very visible. And I think that we are going to see some incredible, these are very difficult expressions here, these oppositions, not easy to manage. And he's going to have to, really, there's going to be a reckoning here. We have Mars in the 12th house that is hitting his home Cancer 12th house, lighting up the 4th house themes. And the IC is opposite this eclipse, born on an eclipse. The 12th house is the house of deep psychological introspection. The spiritual light Sirius is there, putting a light on to consider this top, more spiritual way of things. It's a very beneficial energy there. Probably shows that he would come from some beneficial energy. A lot of that was hidden. And that wouldn't have been seen. There's a lot of behind the scenes going on here with Trump, let me tell you. And then we have Venus and Saturn in his 12th house, and we have it in Cancer. And so Saturn is holding him in his ideals of home, and that I see over there transiting in the way that he should express himself out of the home, through the home, in the home. And it's definitely being highlighted this lifetime. And Mars, when that hits that 23 and 25 and goes through there with Ceres, is going to be lighting this up for him. He will definitely be going through some deep karmic themes. The 12th house is karma. Regarding money, Saturn, incidentally, the Iran chart is very significant Saturn. So you can't make this up, you guys. Like, I'm not going to keep going here. But there's a lot going on. His midheaven has Chiron in retrograde. This is values, resources, money, 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 money. And it's going back to Aries. And it's going to be under review for a while. And he's going to have to contend with the sextile of the 9th and the 11th, where Uranus is going through his 11th house from the humanitarian, we the people, and very chatty energy speaking. There's no hiding what's coming for him and the exposure that he is going to have. This eclipse, Aries, is occurring for you in the 5th house. You can see it there hitting your 5th house. And this is going to definitely, with Jupiter in Leo there already, this is going to bring about a great change in the way that you're doing your personal creative energy on a daily basis, tied into your belief systems, travel, study, and it is trining the 9th, and you have Sagittarius there. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. So fire on fire is trining for you, and also trining back to your 1st house. Now, you've got a whole theme going on here, Aries, because we know Saturn and Neptune have both moved in there for you. So it's in Aries, it's in your sign, but it's asking you to show some restraint here and to maybe put some structures around your belief systems that you are expressing through your body out and collectively through your creative projects. Very important to see this. I am not going to do a super detailed for each sign this time. I just don't have the time with other things going on. But I want to encourage you, other people have. But I wanted to show you where this is showing up. Your Dharma trine and fire that's available for you. And to also see Pluto is in your 11th. You know, the nodes are dealing with the South Node in Leo, North Node in Aquarius, and you've got Pluto there in the humanitarian house. So you're under some review and transformation with your message and your shadow work and the way that you want to come out in your collective energy at this time. Aries, you're ruled by fire. You need to be moving. You need to do exercise. You need to have cooling teas, cooling herbs, and you need to calm the fires within. Ice baths are great, but sometimes you push it too hard and you shock your nervous system when maybe you should be a little bit more kinder. You are ruled by Mars after all. And you need to look very closely at what Mars is doing here. Mars is at 0 degree, your ruler, and it is hitting that 4th house with Ceres at 0 degree. And Sirius, the star of promise and great spiritual signification, is sitting there hitting you in the 4th house. So super important to understand. You've got some energy in the home. You've got some energy being fired up, asking you to review the way you do your Mars in Cancer, because Mars falls in Cancer and it's in the 4th house hitting you. So that's definitely a theme. Okay, Taurus, for you, this is obviously hitting the 4th house. You can see there that you have a lot of concentration in the subterranean, house of home, personal roots, the deep interior, the self-confidence, for sure, that comes from the home, and clan or family, radical commitment, home and hearth are coming up for you. By the time we get to the 4th house, we are in later childhood, so this can relate back to adolescence for you. And maybe you are looking at, with Mercury there as well, you know, your sun is in Leo, so, you know, you've got in your fourth house, and as you can see, the midheaven is hitting your fourth house. And the midheaven is what we just talked about, the 10th house, the sky. And your eyes see your most intimate, tenderest parts of an angle of who you are is getting hit by that south node in Pluto. And Pluto is going retrograde, so it's going backwards there, and it's reviewing 10th house themes. It is also reviewing ways that you need to start moving towards that north node energy that's connected to your IC, that maybe you've been too compromising and too emotional, and you've really thought more, been thinking more about the self instead of the others here, or even yourself here, because it's the IC. And you're really being asked to restructure that energy from the 4th to the 10th. And the 10th, of course, ruled by Saturn, house of career, profession, reputation, your mission in life, and the need to leave a mark on the world is very strong here. So all of that is up in review for you. And it is in the daytime part of the chart, this polar opposite being seen, of course, up there in your midheaven. So your ruler, Taurus, is Venus. And so whatever Venus is doing, or wherever Venus is, this is going to be super important for you to understand. And we have Venus over there in the 6th house of service to others. And it is speaking of wanting to bring more diplomacy and balance and an equal exchange of energy on a daily basis, and bring in a very calm way of going about doing that in a very rational way, in a way that is going to be good also for the ego that is opposite Libra and Aries. The ego in the 12th house is subconscious healing. So it's dealing with themes there about definitely where your energy has gone out in expression to other people. And, that might be something you're reviewing right now, your dreams, your goals, and wanting to bring more structure to them. And that's causing you to really look at some of those subterranean 4th house themes where this eclipse is taking place. So Venus is going to be there, I think it was until September. Was I right on that? How long is Venus staying there? Sorry, I didn't progress Venus forward, but she'll be there a while. And she's going to be providing some really beneficial daily energy to you, as Venus would do, some creative ideas on how you can negotiate your daily life with others in a way that is more balanced. And I would say it's really asking you to speak up. The 6th to the 1st is in conjunct. That's a harsh aspect. And Chiron is in retrograde in Taurus in the 1st house for you. And it's, asking you, headed on its way back to your 12th in Aries, asking you to review themes of money, which is what Venus rules. And you are ruled by Venus. And your 2nd house, which has Uranus and Gemini. And woo-wee, you've probably had some conversations that have been quite verbose and quite large and quite chatty, and it's probably not been easy. If all that is true, you are not making it up. That is what is showing up active for you. All right, let's go up to Gemini. Gemini, this is occurring for you in the 3rd house of communication, your house. So, wow, there's a lot of probably communication that's been going on in your life regarding local travel, regarding Mercury, and Mercury has been in the water signs twice now in retrograde, first in Pisces and in Cancer, whereas of this eclipse, it's starting to move forward out of that shadow. So anything that's been stuck about that energy for you, it's definitely going to bring an awareness and a new beginning. And you're going to see that energy start to open up for you. You need to pay attention to Mercury, who is moving forward and now actually working with you, thank God, as of this reading. And you need to understand that Mercury has been trying to do something for you when it's gone retrograde in these water signs. So the midheaven for you showing up in the third house. So more than likely, this is a public kind of thing where other people know about it and you're just trying to figure out where to put your roar in the best possible place. No doubt about it. You have here the North Node opposite up there in the ninth, where you probably are looking at long distance travel, trying to figure out where you want to go. This is highly personal, your IC up there in the ninth, having to do with your belief systems, having to do with other countries or other people from those spaces. And Pluto there is definitely trying to revolutionize this area of the chart for you. In retrograde, where it had been in the eighth, you know, that had been a long kind of theme for you. Now into the ninth, where it's asking you to make some more better decisions when it comes to the way that you express your humanitarian 11th house legacy energy. It's very personal for you, for all of us next to the IC there. So watch your Mercury. This is important for you. Mercury is in Leo as of this reading. And Mercury in Leo can be kind of cocky and bombastic if not measured and tempered. But you've got some favor here with Jupiter and Leo. We all have this. And with it opposite the ninth house, Jupiter's opposite its original home, a Sagittarius Lord, right? That's where he lives. And so there's a staring down here and some decisions that are being made. And Jupiter in Leo can hold large aspirations of how they think it should be done. So mutable Gemini, let's be flexible. You're good at this. Know that you're going to be called upon this at this time. And look to the Mercury going retrograde and Pisces coming up in the fall, where it will be for 3 weeks. Okay, Cancer, this is occurring for you in the second house, and you've been dealing with Neptune up there and Saturn restructuring your 10th house, your visibility, the way that you show up in the world, the way that you present yourself in the world. And that's been very important to you, very personal. Your physical body might have changed jobs. You might be wondering where to work, or there could be some flux going on with that for you. But with Neptune up there in retrograde and Saturn in retrograde, with Pallas Athena and Vesta up in the 10th, this is asking you to ask the deeper questions of where can you best place your cardinal fire? Where can you put it out in the best perceptual way that, you know, is going to make you money? Because that's the 10th house. And Aries up there in fire would very much be interested in making money. And how are you going to keep the home light burning, so to speak? It's opposite the fourth with Vesta. You know, we have Libra there with Venus, you know, asking the harder questions of, you know, how is the exchange of money between yourself and the other person in the home fair? What are you doing to contribute? How is Libra showing up in the home? And what are Libra's ideas in the home and this air, cool energy, thinking about all this going up in the midheaven? It's in the second house of money, and the 10th house is a house of money. And your eclipse occurring there in the second house with Mercury and Jupiter, you know, you could have an opportunity for some money to flow to you in different ways than it had been flowing. A new way to do money. And it's going to be seen in the midheaven there in a very visible place. coming down to you. And this could mean people reaching out to you with jobs. This could mean leaving the job you're in. But it's asking you to restructure the way that you've been doing your legacy, your gifts, and the way you're expressing your talents out into the world. And it's under a psychological review for sure. Pluto's in the 8th in Capricorn for Cancer, and it is reviewing the themes that you had going on with the 7th house. So it's going back and it's saying, let's make sure you get these relationships down right. Let's make sure you're connecting with the people that's in the best interest for all. Let's make sure that your money and other people's money and wills and inheritances and loans and taxes, that all that is being put in a position where it's come under the radar psychologically, but where it can come out now better in your 9th house of Pisces. You see this? It's definitely asking you to take the 1st to the 9th to the 5th. Mars is there. Mars doesn't do well in Cancer. Mars is hitting the body, and it's trining the 9th and the 5th. But we have to understand, if it doesn't operate in a balanced way, that out-of-bound energy can just get too crazy about money, too crazy about their own identity and money, too crazy about their way or the highway and making money. And it ties to values. The 2nd house is the gate of Hades, and it is the house of money, and it is resources, self-confidence, or the lack of it, improving oneself. So there's a lot of confidence going on here with money and the exchange of money and how it's psychologically doing something in your brain. And just know that a lot of this is under flux and change right now. And 6 months from now, it's really going to look a lot more clear. Now, you're ruled by the moon, and the moon in an eclipse. This is huge, especially if you were born on a solar eclipse like I was. So this Leo is really, it's hitting my 10th house because I'm a Scorpio ascendant, and my 9th house is sun is in Cancer. So it's, it's hitting my natal Mercury at natal Mercury in Leo at 3 degrees, and the 5 and the 9 have both gone over it. And so, this has been a real spotlight for me to figure all this out. And if you're a cardinal sign, can I say this? You often do this ahead of time. You get whiffs of this. I have seen people that I've talked to anywhere from 6 months to a year ahead of time, where you already got those things in motion and you knew things were changing. Cardinal signs usually are ahead of the game. They have this instinctual way about them of knowing when to initiate and when to move out. And I have a stellium up there in the 9th, and I just finished my PhD program in January. So I was finishing up a huge lesson there that had to do with my belief systems. So being a Cancer sun, I can speak to this energy, and a Cancer moon really, really instinctively. And I can just say that, know that your 2nd to 8th house is impacting your relationships and where you're putting your body and how it will be seen later down the road, right? In the collective, in a beneficial way. If you do your shadow work, if you're keeping yourself centered and balanced, if you're operating in a way that is good for all and not just yourself, because this Leo energy is definitely about selfish energy. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and go on to Leo. All right, Leo, as you can see, this is highly personal. And Leo, this is a tough eclipse for you. There's probably been some communication, some great change going on with the way that you're using your dynamic energy out into the world. And you've probably had to do some really serious negotiating with others. You have Pluto there in the 7th house, where it had spent its time in the 6th house. and now it is ingressed into the 7th, but it's it's under review. And it is highly interested in your relationships, your partnerships, your close contacts, and your enemies. With the North Node there, and your eyes see, this very sensitive part of the upper sky, the roots, the hidden space of the 4th house cusp, right? Of the darkness, the nocturnal. There could be for you, a wanting and a desire as the nodes are moving towards Pluto, and Pluto's moving backwards, but the nodes are moving towards Pluto. And it's asking you to really evaluate, how do you want to be remembered in the collective with your partnerships out in the world? And how do you want to exchange your Uranian rebel-like energy with those out in partnerships in the world? And what kind of people do you want to hang out with going forward? And your whole 11th house, it's up for some change. You have Uranus and Gemini transiting there. Very rebellious energy that's speaking. And so you're trying to find your place in the collective, in groups, I would say. It's trining the 7th to the 4th, the 7th to the 11th in the air harmony. And Pluto trining Aquarius, there's going to be some beneficial information of a very deep transformational energy coming to you. And it could be found in a group setting, or it could be found in the way that you're exchanging your group energy, where you're kind of wanting to be with more authentic type energy that is really showing up in logical and communicative and ways that aren't all emotional and yin and water and being held down. You want to move out in your energy. You have got Libra in the 3rd house with Venus there, and bringing some very harmonic, beautiful money talk energy and collaborative talk energy. Your 3rd Venus, your 3rd house to your 7th in that trine is Pluto to Venus. Ooh, this is some potent energy dealing with love, money, partnerships, and communication. All of that is under review right now for you. And Leo, you're ruled by the sun, so wherever the sun is, vitally important for you to understand this exact conjunction here, obviously to your Leo. This is potent energy, y'all. This is potent, Leo. I am just sending out extra light and love to you, and just know that you got this, but you're being highlighted in your personal energy with others and the way you show up into the collective. Virgo, let's go to you. Virgo, bless you. This is showing up for you in the 12th house, and that's, that in the 8th are two of the hardest spots for any type of energy to be in, I think. And there is, when we have planets in the 8th, the house of troubles, the house of bad spirit, we're being asked to release something related to whatever is visiting. Well, you have the solar eclipse visiting. And this is very potent energy of needing to release that opposite the 6th in your daily life that is just not working in the way that you're showing up in the collective. I think that you've gotten some feedback lately, and it might not have been easy to hear. And I think that you're over there in that house, in the 12th house. And I want to caution you against rumination. I want to caution you against holding your fire so that you get enraged or angry. You got to let this go. Somatically, you need to release this energy there in ways that are connecting you to as above. This is Pisces house where Leo is transiting, and this is midheaven energy. So it's where you've shown up in the collective in your own psychological ways of fire that is asking you to transmute and change this energy in a very, very large way. Very personal to your daily life, obviously your health. This is affecting your health, whatever this is. Pluto is there really wanting to revolutionize the way that you feel. You need to show up in the collective with your talents and your gifts in a way that is unusual and unique. And your Lord there of Aquarius, opposite this solar eclipse, is in Gemini, of course. And this is showing up for you in the midheaven of the zenith part of the chart for you. And this is communication of a very rebellious, loud, different. I say loud because of Mars in the astrobation there in the 11th, and the 11 to 7 trine, and the opposition of Aquarius and what's going on in the 11th. You see how we need to pull this in? This is an easy energy, and you're, wanting to really rebel, I would say, and speak. And I think you're just not sure about the best way to go about that, because in the 8th house, where we see the restriction of the Saturn and our personal fire cardinal, going out, it's in the house of psychology. And for you, between other people, the 7th and the 9th, you're under review. And you're asking, okay, where can I best send this energy out? And how can I do it with other people? And where am I supposed to let go and begin anew and move into this new moon that I'm being asked to move into that is very fated at this time? Mercury rules you. And remember, Mercury's been now in 2 retrogrades in water, dealing with the emotional sectors of Pisces first, the 12th house where this eclipse is taking place. Go back and pull the chart when Pisces was in retrograde with Mercury. And you're going to see some themes here that are trying to speak to you about the way that energy is being used in the 12th. And when it's in the 12th, this is very much sometimes hidden from our own psychological nature. So calling on a counselor or a guide or someone you trust and respect to hold space for you, to be brutally honest and speak this energy out in a container that can hold it, would really, really be helpful for you. Virgo, with your Mercury, you can be over analytical, over fastidious. You need to make everything perfect. You've got it in Leo in the 12th house, where you've been, really putting your own ideas in a fixed way of how things should be done that come from your subconscious nature. It's asking you to mature and to grow, and you have great power and benefit to do this. You have the great benefit in Jupiter, in Leo, working with you. And it's there, and the guru knows how to manage that 12th house. The Lord of Pisces that originally rules this water house is Jupiter. And the Lord may be in Leo, and I understand that it's struggling to express itself there in a different way, but it is beneficial energy. And I just want you to know that 6 months from now, you will definitely be in a better place. Look for this lunar eclipse in Pisces that's coming up, as we just had the lunar nodes in Pisces for 18 months, and you've been doing all of this 12th house work. But it has to do with the way you're coming out in your subconscious fires through programming from the IC childhood, and how you're bringing that energy out. You've got Venus in the 2nd house, bringing in some opportunities to exchange your collective energies, because in the 7th house is Pisces, in the exchange house, and you've got this eclipse happening in Pisces, and the eclipse Leo is sextiling that Venus. So, wow, you've really got an opportunity. This is awesome, to make some changes with your money, but it's tying back to your subconscious nature, and you got to be able to change and transform and bend a little, Leo. And be willing to change your structures there, Virgo, and be willing to do things a little different and look at that closely, and be willing to exchange with other people and not hold your own ideas and your own energy as the way it needs to be. All right, Libra, this is occurring for you in the 11th house, and you've been asked here, if you go back and listen, I talked about expanding your 11th house last month when I did my video, and I really think you need to consider that and watch that again if you haven't. You are having a great change and ask in the way that you are going to be seen and showing up in the collective in your personal fires, in the way that you send your creative powers out. And one of those things are children. So it could be that themes of your children and your creative fires and the way that you're showing up can change. And you're going to be coming out in a more expansive way that is looking at bringing in the collective and collective energies and the larger audience energies, and where you can contribute with your gifts more, and where you can contribute with your talents, and really come out and begin to mix here with the midheaven showing up in your 11th house and your deepest roots in the house of children, creativity, in the house with Pluto sitting there in Aquarius, reviewing the way that you've done your collective Uranian, holding Sagittarian energies of how you show up in the collective. You're definitely going to be under review here. Your Lord there is working with you. You have great favor at this time to lean into this favor of Venus working with you in the domicile position, having directional strength to offer some kind of beauty to the other, the 7th house of this fire around you in Aries, other people that seems very directive and moving your fires out maybe in ways that you do not like, you do not understand, and there's a lot of resistance going on there with Saturn pulling the brakes, saying, whoa, this fire Aries and other people, I need some structure. I don't really understand where you're coming from, and I need you to be a little bit more clear about the way you're speaking, and let's put some actual structure, timeline, boundaries with the way that this is going to look. You would be highly interested in this at this time, to be able to prepare and have more conversations. You need to be open to this, of where you can put your collective energy. Money into the personal body theme is going to be a result of this. It's a promise of this solar eclipse that, you know, this is going to bring some beneficial nature to you. As I tell you, creative fires with air and fire and opposition, there is some power there. You are sitting at the helm in the 1st house and the house of the personality. And so your social persona is really getting an uptick here in being able to move out with other people in ways that are very beneficial, probably physically having some different environments. And it's just going to open up a whole nother world for you. And I just want to caution you, you do have Mars. You have a lot of energy concerning your home and where you're living. And Ceres is there firing things up. And just don't burn yourself out, okay? Make sure that you guard your waters, your emotional waters regarding that 4th to 10th house axis. Things could get really heated. You could burn yourself out as well. Don't do that. Let's get that polarity straight and in balance. All right. Sagittarius. Woo! Okay, so that's your home, the 9th house, and you're ruled by Jupiter. So Lord Jupiter is there, but it's in Leo. So chances are you're beginning to put a lot of your fixed fire in a place where it makes more sense to you and where you can go out, you can be expansive, you already are that. But when you've got Leo in fixed fire, that wanting to go out is asking you to kind of put it in a little bit of restriction because it's trying to do something for you and start something new with the way that you're going to show up in long distance travel and your outward energies and your belief systems, and all of that is under review right now as you go from ninth to third polarity. And the third is your daily life. You know, the third is where you travel every day. The third is who you're talking to every day. And there's some fixation being asked about your power and your intellect. And it's asking you to really consider, hey, where do I want to begin anew with my creative fires? And where do I want to make more sense to me in my deepest knowing, my IC down there in the third, in my deepest knowing, my true north? Where can I go where it makes sense to me, where I feel like I'm really being seen and leaving a legacy and putting my talents and my gifts out into the world? There's a high-powered position for you right now with this solar eclipse in the house of God, in the house of spirit, up there in the social identity with houses 7 through 9, dealing with higher education and philosophy. So you are being asked to look at the structures that you have. Pluto is tearing this up, of your 11th house, and the 9th and the 11th are in sextile, and you have Libra and Venus in the 11th that is working with you in harmony and wanting to bring about some really beautiful change between fire and air. And there is great opportunity for you to do this. If you can handle the fire that's showing up in your 8th house with Cancer and Mars and Sirius, where you're having a lot of conversations about crossroads and where you're going to be taking some directions. So I want you to know there is great favor here for you right now, Sagittarius. But you've got to temper your Uranian energy in the 7th. That can just be very verbose. You speak loud anyway, Sagittarius. You know, everybody knows when you're in a room and you put Leo in there, you've just got a lot of energy to contend with. This is fire on fire that's being held. And your Saturn is in the 5th house of Leo, and it is squaring all this energy. So you are really facing some contention in the 5th house of love, romance, children, and trying to move the fogs and the fires out of the way that have not been clear. Like you're trying to put the fire in the place it should be, I should say. And, maybe blowing on it hasn't really helped. So you really need to calm those fires and step back from things, Sagittarius, and be willing to work with your sextile in your chart. And, you've got air on both sides of you. Do you see this? You've got air there in Uranus sextiling over and Venus and Libra sextiling over. And this revolutionary trine energy is trying to speak to you about your fixed fires and bringing a new vibration and a new expression to where you should be seen in the greater collective on a daily basis in communication and the way you use your Mercury. Mercury rules that 3rd house where the node is in Aquarius. Okay, I hope that was helpful. You have a lot of energy to contend with, Sagittarius. All right, let's move on to Capricorn. Capricorn, this is occurring for you in your 8th house of the social identity quadrant, dealing with houses 7 through 9, committed relationships, partnerships, shared resources, sex, death, taxes, deepest psychology, loans, the way that we exchange our psychological energy with other people. All this is under the radar sector for you. You've got this North Node occurring in your second house with, of course, we've got Aquarius in retrograde going back into the first house in Capricorn. It's not going to make its way all the way back there, but it is inching towards there where your self-identity is. You've got Black Moon Lilith at 13 degrees in Juno. So, okay, this is the feminine dealing, or the masculine and the feminine side of you, dealing with the way that power structures and dominance of the male has come into your physical body, and this is putting some structures down in that first house. When you have a new moon solar eclipse of fate occurring in the 8th house, and that's stellium, opposite the second house of values, we very much are dealing with where we live, how we live, who we live with, our earth, our homes. Yes, the 4th house is home, but the second house is our ancestry and how we deal with what's come in with us and how we use our value system and how we allow people to treat us and not treat us, and our self-esteem and our confidence tie into that second house, and our possessions around us. And you've got Pluto there in this eclipse that's really wanting to revolutionize that and move you out and your money and your value into a place that will show up 6 months from now, a year from now, in a much more better space. The midheaven up there in the 8th house, this is a dark house of shadow. This is where you are being seen going through that right now. And that the psychological nature is being impacted. But let me tell you, you have the guru there, Jupiter, and Jupiter does get harmed in the 8th house a little, being in under that shadow. But Jupiter's the great benefit and will bring harmony wherever it goes. And it's speaking with Mercury about, hey, where do your fixed fires and your value and your efforts and your creativity and what you bring out in a collective, when do we start dealing with that and putting that in a position where it's being honored and respected, and it's sound psychological barriers between people and our own mind, between our polarities in our brain of the feminine and the masculine, and all these areas are under review for you, and the balanced structures of what you will tolerate and what you will not. You are asking to do new structures in your psychological nature and to pull away from any structures there that violated your values and your sense of purpose and the way that you make money, and the way that money's coming to you, and the way that your money is being exchanged now going forward. Your Lord, Capricorn, is Saturn. So we've got to look at Saturn. And Saturn is down there in the 4th house with Neptune, which might have been some unclear movement that is now being made very clear. You have Pallas Athena and Vesta there, bringing perceptual skill of intelligence in air fire energy that's cardinal, that is not going to put up with no nonsense. And Saturn is putting restrictions down and asking you to discipline that 4th house and asking, hey, where's your personal fire energy going to go? How are you using your personal fire energy in a way that it can be put in a place of honor? So just know that for 2.5 years, you've got Capricorn, this going through your 4th house of trying to redo the structures that are sitting there. And opposite the 4th, of course, is the 10th. And you've got Libra there. And she's in the top part of your chart, shining with this non-emotional energy of air and matter-of-fact energy, saying, this is the way we're going to do it. This is the way we're going to balance that polarity, and this is the way I'm going to use my money in exchange with other people where it brings me great value. Blessed be Capricorn. You've been under it too. I know this has not been easy. You've got this. Stay to your values and making yourself valuable, okay? This is really important at this time. Aquarius, here we are. Let's talk about this. These nodes are right in your sign, and it is opposite the solar eclipse. So let's get on this. This is occurring for you in the 7th house of others, and boy, you've been under this. If you go back and listen, I've been talking about this great change that you've had in the way that you're expressing your personal energy. And with the Leo eclipse there, there's a stubbornness with other people that has been in place, or a restriction of egos that have been going on. And with this eclipse and the new moon coming in, it's going to bust open energies that have been locked up for you there in the 7th house of others. If you look at where, Uranus and Saturn have been for you, this is going to bring you big clues. As of this eclipse, Saturn is showing up there in the 3rd house in Aries, in your daily communications. And it's interested in bringing your fire, cardinal fire, and putting it in ways that make more sense to you, putting it in ways that are going to bring about more structure to your daily life, structure to where you move around, structure to where you're taking your cardinal fire energies out in exchange from yourself to others. And there's a lot of intellectual conversations going on in that house, and there has been. And the 3rd and the 7th trine. So you've got the fire to the 7th going on, and the fire to the fire, and it's really wanting to move some things out for you. Now, the fire is sextiling. This 3rd house is sextiling your ascendant, where that north node is. And so you are highly interested in the very roots of you at the IC, hitting your ascendant in where you live, where you're going to live, where you're going to put your roots, how your ancestry is being impacted by this. And there are some structures there that need to be broken down and come away from in the way that you've been doing your Leo energy this lifetime, which would be the 5th house, Leo, and wherever Leo shows up for you in your chart. You have Uranus in Leo's house, sextiling the 7th, trining this 1st. So this revolutionary, I am creating something new, Leo roaring energy is definitely right on time. And you need to be speaking there, and you need to talk about how you see things and how you want things done. Now, remember, we have to consider the other, but you are being asked to speak here. Aquarius, you're air, cool energy, you're fixed. You have a way about doing things ruled by Uranus. You're kind of quirky, kind of different. We all know this. But you are being called to speak up here. You're being called to talk about how important that 5th house is for you, because the 3rd and the 5th are sextiling. And you've got this whole self to daily commute, to my greatest projects, to other people, to the home. Like all this has been going on for you with all these other activities of the barbell basket and the nodal change and the Chiron and the Neptune conjunction of Aries and Saturn, and like all of this has been dealing with you with themes of home. So that's all been the heartbeat in the background. So yeah, with your lords working together, you have great power in this eclipse to really release some stuck energies in the 7th house that need to be adjusted and move on so you can get where you need to go. You've got some plans, and you've got something you want to do that you've been fixing your energy on and working on that is about to shift, and you will see this over the next 6 months. Okay, Pisces, this is occurring for you in the 6th house of daily life. You are being asked to move away and release what hasn't been working for you and the way that you've moved your creative fires and your ego around in daily habits. And your Mercury is involved with this as well. And Mercury has been in Pisces, and then it was in Cancer in retrograde. Pisces, your sign. So go back to that reading and look at what Pisces was doing, and understand the way that it was making angles to you when Mercury was in Pisces. This is really important. With Pisces now coming out of shadow period, with Mercury now coming out of shadow period in Cancer, you're also going to want to look at this too, because that is another fellow water sign. And so Mercury's been speaking to you, Pisces, about the internal realm and the emotional realm. And with it in the 6th now, it's asking you to really stand up in your own authenticity and to move away from things that have not been healthy in the way that you've been doing it in that 6th house. This is your midheaven hitting, the outer solar eclipse midheaven hitting the 6th house of daily life and routines. And this is health, work, and service to others. With the ego sign of Leo and fixed fires being there, you're really being asked to show up in a new way. And we have to look at your lords, Pisces, of Jupiter and Neptune. And Jupiter is traveling with Lord Leo. So with Leo, you have really a great opportunity at this moment to take a really clear look at the way that you've been expressing your Leo. Because opposite the solar eclipse and opposite the node, what you're supposed to be coming away from, the south node opposite, is the 12th house. The 12th house is that deepest psychology house where things are hidden and the IC is there. Your deepest roots in the way that you show up in the collective and what you contribute in your groups and your friends and how you can connect with them in a bigger way. And Pluto there in Aquarius is revolutionizing the way that you do your 11th house. So look at the structures here in the 2nd house that can help you with Saturn. Saturn's always giving us clues. And where you have this Aquarius and Leo opposition is actually in harmony with Saturn. And Saturn is sextiling the 12th and it's 6th. So it's giving you some opportunity to work with these energies in a way that are going to bring more personal value, going to bring money, going to bring your creative projects to a place that can be grounded and balanced. And, that's definitely not always easy when we're dealing with the IC and the 12. But that's cool energies. That's intellectual energies that are opposing this eclipse. And that magnetism of Saturn is asking you to look at this 6th to 12th house in psychological way that you are doing your fires, and to begin to bring them out in a way that is better for the collective and to come out into the collective. I think you've been hiding, Pisces, and you can be the victim and you can sacrifice in ways that you want to get hero badges for and nobody understands me kind of thing. And you got to be really careful with that. When fire and an eclipse is showing up for you in the 6th house, and you have Fomalhaut in the 1st with you, and Hecate in the 1st with you, and your IC in the 1st, this is really asking you to revolutionize the way that your body appears and shows up. Really good for you to do water therapies, to sit by the water, meditative practices, and balance the waters within you and bring more structure, bring more fire and air to your life, where we have the opportunity of Saturn in fire to do for you, working with you at this time. Okay, so Scorpio, so sorry that I forgot or skipped you. It wasn't intentional, so what we're going to do here is just go ahead and tuck it on the end here. No harm, no foul. Let's go ahead and get started. For Scorpio rising, this lunar eclipse falls directly in your 10th house, which is going to bring major focus to your career, public reputation, power control dynamics, the government, authorities, your personal authority, a Saturn ruled house, public reputation, and long-term direction. So with it opposite the 4th house here, Pluto in Aquarius, the node obviously in Aquarius, and the IC at 21 degrees, the most sensitive part of the chart. This is really a potent configuration for you, Scorpio. The opposition between the Leo eclipse in your 10th house and Pluto in your 4th, it creates a tug of war between your public standing and your private internal foundations, urging you to address deep issues of control and transformation at your roots. Look, your lords are Mars and Pluto. We've got Mars in Cancer in the 9th house, conjunct Ceres in Cancer at the 00 degree, very potent degree, in the decan of the Sun. And then we have Cancer's home being the 4th, where your Pluto in Aquarius is. And the 9th to the 4th is an inconjunct. And an inconjunct is a 150 degree angle called the quincunx, where two planets are not involved in any type of connection with their elements, with the house, the way that it acts, or what can work with that house, other signs and other modalities, the way that they move. And it's a redirecting of a mentality that you've been holding. And it's challenging you and requiring you to make adjustments. And because you're Scorpio ascendant, when we have a water sign on the ascendant, much like the cardinal signs, there's this intuitive knowing. Chances are this event has already happened or going to happen. The eclipse is going to kick something off that's going to affect the polarity of the 10th to the 4th. So public standing versus private internal foundations. It's urging you here to address deep issues of any type of control or power dynamics that have been going on in your house, whether it be you or someone else. But this is at the root core. This is striking a nerve, and the node sitting right next to it, they're getting ready to go right into 21 degree IC. This is pretty karmic when the nodes are involved, and the 4th house is ancestry and some karma. After all, this is family life karma. And Juno and Black Moon Lilith in your 3rd house, this is a lot of communication. And Saturn sitting there in cardinal Earth, themes of independence and perhaps unresolved, because it's retro, unresolved desires and power dynamics in your daily communication and immediate surroundings. This is the 3rd house. And Saturn, of course, is in your 6th, the Lord of Capricorn. And Saturn is squaring the conversation of the 3rd with Neptune. And there's also a review with those two planets. So So the 0 degree point there of Ceres and Cancer, getting back to this Mars, which is one of your rulers, it adds this highly potent fresh start. Look at this 0, 0, and then a new moon, right? So this is a fresh start to bringing in more nurturing themes, and not settling, which is creating friction, I would say, with the established norms that have already been in place and are part of your commitments. And so Jupiter and Leo here conjunct Mercury in this stellium of the eclipse in the 10th brings really a great, benefic, powerful, large, expansive wave of good fortune to your professional standing. This eclipse is speaking of a promise 6 months, a year from now, or when we have the next eclipse, you'll look back on this eclipse and you will see it was a prominent, pivotal time in your life of certain themes. So stepping into your leadership role, into your field where you want to show up, it's very independent energy, and your words are going to carry some extra weight and optimism right now. So help those words connect with the right people with a broader public perspective. This is what the humanitarian down there in the 4th is asking of you. And consider people that are more like your tribe, that are more like you, that operate in this cool intellectual, because that's what Aquarius is in the 4th, energy that isn't full of drama and doesn't want to deal with this 8th house Uranus in Gemini. And it has had to deal with this 8th house Uranus in Gemini because it's trining. These energies are flowing. There's been some conversations that have been had with Pluto and Uranus trining, all part of that. Remember the bar bowl basket video I did? Go back and watch your sign for that. Scorpio ascendant and your moon, whatever your moon is, watch it and see if that doesn't resonate for you. Let's talk about, lastly, this Chiron in the 7th house and this polarity you have with the exact opposite polarity, right, of the 10th to the 4th. You've got the 1st to the 7th. And Chiron now is going retrograde. And it was in your 6th house, Scorpio, for quite a long time. And now it's going to go back and revisit some last themes of Chiron in your 6th house. It's squaring your 10th, so these conversations about value, money, where you're going to put your feet, where your voice is going to speak in confidence, in security, where you feel safe, where your Venus there in the 12th, which is in the subconscious house of Pisces, Libra's there, dealing with partnership dynamics for sure. And Chiron over there is not in a good position with the ruler of the original 7th house, Libra. So there's like some squares and angles off here that this solar eclipse is going to adjust for you. And I think you'll see it with the Pisces lunar eclipse that's going to be occurring in about 2 weeks. And that's going to be the message of, I'm calling it like, how to deal with this energy in the best way and where it wants to go and how it wants to operate. And for you, Scorpio ascendant, your 5th house is Pisces. And that's where that eclipse is going to be showing up for you August 28th. So yeah, pretty cool how this all works in this 1st to 5th to 10th conversation, connecting to the polarity of the 10th and the 4th and the 1st and the 7th. But in your daily life, Aries is going to be there, and Chiron's going to ingress back in there and demand that your daily life is done the way you want it, in the way you want it. And with Mars in Cancer, there is a lot of energy to get this done. But the 6th squares the 9th. The 9th is in conjunct the 4th. and Mars is out of bounds. In the beginning of the video, I talk about this. So, you know what my advice would be for you, Scorpio, is to take a couple days and really during this eclipse and after, like, be real quiet and just do some time meditating, get with your cards, get with your space where you can be still in the fixed ponds of life and find the lotuses because they're there waiting for you. And you've seen enough of this mud. It's all been exposed to you now. And it's asking you to rise higher and really go to this humanitarian space in the fourth house that is the good for you and your family, and how that all is being shown up where you will be in the public collective of the 10th and the 11th, where groups, friendships, how you contribute to the world, this is all speaking at this time for you. All right, thanks again for your patience on this, Scorpio. Didn't mean to exclude you. I'm a Scorpio ascendant, so it certainly was interested in where this was showing up for me, but blessed be over thee, and thank you so much for your support. Take care. So in closing on this eclipse, I just want to talk about the 5 phases that this eclipse has. And there's the partial eclipse that begins, and that is the first contact, and that is when the moon becomes visible over the sun's disk, and it looks like the moon has taken a bite out of the sun. The total eclipse is the second contact, where the moon covers the entire disk of the sun, and observers are now within the moon's umbra, the darkest part of the moon's shadow, and a diamond ring effect and what's called Bailey's beads are visible just before totality. Then there's the totality and maximum eclipse, where the moon completely covers the disk of the sun and only the sun's corona is visible. And this is the most dramatic stage of a total solar eclipse. And at this time, the sky goes dark, temperatures can fall, and birds and animals often go quiet. The midpoint of time of totality is known as the maximum point of the eclipse. So the third contact is when the total eclipse ends and the moon starts moving away and the sun reappears. And those fortunate enough to be in the moon's umbral shadow can see Bailey's beads and the diamond ring effect just after the totality ends. The partial eclipse ends when the moon leaves the sun's disk. So you can imagine what this was like for people in the ancient time, you know, when they looked at these eclipses in the sky and everything went dark. This is why it's often, you know, tied to fated events. And Trump, Netanyahu, and the former leader of Iran were all born on eclipses. And we just find that those born on eclipses, or eclipses themselves even, like you don't even have to be born on one, but if you are, something's greatly changing direction about your lifestyle, your projection, your family line, like everything about you, body, mind, soul, this lifetime. If you're born on an eclipse, it's very, very important to see. And so I really enjoyed the research and the further digging I did on this project and this eclipse. So I know that it's getting out here later than usual. I have other things going on in life personally too, just like you. Life gets busy. But thanks for your patience, and for those who follow me and follow this channel. I really appreciate you helping me get the word out. So if this hits and you found that it's been helpful, please share. And I just wish you the very best. Blessed be. Until next time, take care.